And good morning, Jai Baba. We are gathered today to remember our dear brother Eruch. If anyone, he said he was so brotherly to all of us. We all and he often addressed people as brother. This it was so. I will start by reading his biography. I'm in Karen Talbot's shoes today. She's at the Meherabad. All right. So, yeah. Eruch Biram Shah Jessawala was a most fortunate slave. He chose the path of freedom in coming to Meherabad. Eruch was born on October 13th, 1916 in Bombay, India. Can you hear me well? I hope. Let me know.
No, it could be like.
Yes, go ahead.
I can't hear you very good, Betty.
Let me see if I can. I don't. Let's see. Yeah, I'm afraid I'll be closer. Oh, hold on. No, just a sec. I need to plug something in. Now can you hear me better?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's start again. Eruch Biram Shah Jessawala. He chose the path of freedom in coming to Meherabad. His early life, he was born on October 13th, 1916 in Bombay, India, to Zoroastrian parents, Bairam and Gaimai Jessawala. Eruch had two sisters, Mera and Manu, and a brother, Merwan. The family lived in Nagpur, and their extensive home and properties were called Meherabad. His meeting of Meherabad is as follows. The first time Eruch remembered meeting Meherabad was in 1925, when he was 9 years old on a trip with his family to Ahmednagar. His mother Gaimai's family lived at Akbar Press. Her brother told her that they met someone who reminded them of Zoroaster. That would be Naushirwan Mama. As they rode along, Meherabad was behind them. Eruch fell from the back of the horse carriage they were traveling in and seriously hurt his elbow. Baba picked him up and lovingly comforted him. Meherabad had Eruch sit on his lap. He comforted Eruch and put duniash on Eruch's elbow and wrapped a handkerchief around it. Eruch was amazed that a total stranger could express such love and concern. From 1925 to 1930, Meherabad would visit their family home, Meherabad, in Nagpur. Meherabad would play games with Eruch, but Eruch wanted to be with his teammates on school games. Baba understood. He started having Eruch read his alphabet board as a game. Eruch was a natural. He enjoyed this immensely. In later years, Eruch became Baba's chief interpreter. In August 1930 at Nagpur, Baba told Gaimai, "Eruch is my son. I will give you another." Gaimai agreed instantly. Papa Jessawala said, "How can we give you Eruch? He is our only son." At this time, Gaimai was pregnant and Merwan was born. In 1936, Eruch was 20 years old and studying in college in Benares. Baba asked him, "What do you want to become?" Eruch replied he wanted to study engineering. Baba asked Eruch, "Would you be my engineer instead?" In May 1938, Baba sent a telegram to Eruch saying to come immediately to him at Panchgani. It was extremely hot, 120 degrees, and Eruch continued working in their garden to protect the many plants from the heat. Within an hour, another telegram arrived saying the same thing, but sent from a different railway station. His mother implored him to go immediately. Eruch did. Eruch left so rapidly, he left the keys in the glove compartment at the train station. He asked the guard to watch the car, but Papa Jessawala was not pleased when he returned from his travels to find the car with the keys sitting in the lot. When Eruch arrived, after a brief conversation, Meherabad suddenly said, "If I were to ask you to leave everything behind and come and stay with me, is it possible for you to do that?" Eruch replied, "By your grace, everything is possible." Meherabad then asked Eruch to come on August 1st, 1938. Then Meherabad said, "Is it possible for all the family to leave everything and come and follow me?" Again, Eruch replied, "By your grace, everything is possible." "That is good," said Meherabad. "Tell them to come also. When you come, bring a trunk and sleeping bag for each, and bring the car. Only those things." When he returned to tell his parents, his mother was overjoyed. His father, who had created extensive property and assets for the family, shrugged his shoulders and replied, "All this I have done for you, all that you may have happiness. But if you find greater happiness at his feet, then I am all the more happy." Then his father said he was too busy to wind up the estate, so he asked Eruch to be responsible and he would sign the papers. It was May 23rd, 1938, so Eruch had a short time to wind up the estate and other matters. Later, Meherabad sent a message, "Tell your father that his retirement is due in 6 months, so he should not retire prematurely." Then we have coming to live with Meherabad. On August 1st, 1938, the whole family came to Meherabad. Papa Jessawala came for 1 week before he retired from his position. Eruch assisted Meherabad with the Mad Ashram, which he had recently been brought from Rahuri. Eruch said his training was a precursor to his life with Meherabad. They went on the blue bus tours. Eruch drove the bus after Elizabeth's new car arrived. Due to lack of water and other difficulties at Meherabad, Meherabad wanted a new place with water. In 1943, they found an old rest house for an engineer working on Pimplegon Lake. It was not named Meherazad until 1948. After the rest of the family came to Baba in 1938, Baba asked them to live in Jabalpur and then Bangalore. In 1943, Mayor Baba asked them to move to Pune and told them to be there for 15 days. Those 15 days lasted for many, many years. In Eruch's book, That's How It Was, Eruch shares 2 intimate times with Meher Baba. Eruch said, "Although I spent so much time with Meher Baba, I almost never got the opportunity to simply stare at him. When Eruch went to help Meher Baba, he gestured, 'No, you sit.' So Eruch sat there near Baba's chair, simply looking at Meher Baba. Not a word was said. They sat in silence, simply staring at each other. Eruch found cool tears streaking down his cheeks. Nothing was ever said, but that remains one of Eruch's treasured memories of his time with Meher Baba. Before the beginning of the new life, Meher Baba wanted a period of relaxation. Eruch suggested a place on the coast called Vengurla. Meher Baba sent the women to the beach. Meher Baba and Eruch went to contact a must. Instead of walking 3 miles to reach the distant town, Meher Baba asked Eruch to cross the inlet waters in one of the dugout canoes the fisher boys used. The boat capsized. Eruch caught hold of Meher Baba and they safely reached the shore. Eruch had to leave Meher Baba alone to get him fresh clothes. After contacting the must, Meher Baba said, "As you gave me your helping hand today to pull me out of these murky waters, a day will come when I will lend you my hand and pull you out of the muck of illusion." In 1940, now we're talking the New Life. In 1949, Eruch was one of the New Life companions who was with Meher Baba throughout the entire New Life. Eruch would be with Meher Baba, the women were behind, and the men Mandali even further behind. Whenever they traveled, Eruch was with Meher Baba as his interpreter and companion. In the 1950s, in 1952, Eruch was so exhausted from the New Life, he asked not to be included in the visit to Meher Spiritual Center. Instead, Meher Baba sent Eruch and Pendu to Hamirpur and Andhra State to tell villagers about him. It was an exhausting trip. Eruch was unsure of what they were to say, since he had never spoken about Meher Baba before. Meher Baba told Eruch to stand up, remember me, and speak. Baba sent Eruch and Pendu on a tour of India and Pakistan to prepare people for the fiery free life and to establish Baba centers at various places. In the 1950s, he worked on God Speaks. He wrote the 9th chapter of that book, working from a chart by Meher Baba under Meher Baba's direct supervision, and wrote the book's conclusion. Eruch's stories of his life with Meher Baba were also published during his life. In 1956, Eruch visited the Meher Center and stayed in Baba's house. Eruch had not been to the center in 1952, so Baba took Eruch to the edge of the bluff to show him the wonderful view. Eruch also then accompanied Baba to Australia. And now about the second car accident in Satara. Eruch was driving the car in Uttara on their way to Satara. At 5:15 p.m., the steering wheel suddenly and inexplicably went completely out of control. The car swerved, crashing against a stone culvert, and landed eventually in a foot-deep ditch on the other side of it. All the men in the car were seriously injured. Baba was seriously hurt. Vishnu was injured but able to check on the others. Eruch, Pendu, and Nilu were thrown out of the car. Baba and Alaba took Eruch and Pendu to the civil hospital by ambulance. This was a very difficult time for Eruch. Nilu had passed away. Eruch felt partially responsible for Baba's physical suffering since he was responsible for the accident. Baba said, "Don't be sad. One day I will definitely walk. It has nothing to do with you. The accident had to happen and it should happen." Eruch returned to the Meher Center in 1958 with Meher Baba, Adi, Nariman, and Dr. Donkin. Eruch was intimately involved with all of Meher Baba's activities as his closest companion. In the 1960s, Eruch spent summers at Guru Prasad. Eruch used to spend the day at Guru Prasad and return to Bindra House in the evenings. In 1962, he was involved in preparation for the East-West Gathering, and he was with Baba at that gathering. In 1965, he was involved with the Eastern Sahabas. Eruch tried to dissuade Baba from sending the circular about the great darshan because Baba's health was so poor. Baba replied, "I will give darshan. I want them to come, send it." So on On January 31st, 1969, Eruch needed, Baba was passing away. Eruch, I'm sorry, I don't have complete notes here. Eruch immediately began administering mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. He asked Dr. Briesman to administer oxygen to Baba, which he did, and Goher gave him an intracardiac injection. Baba passed away at 12:15 on January 31st, 1969. After that, Eruch spent 7 days at Meherabad welcoming those who came to offer respects to Meherabad's body. He saw to it that Begin the Begin was played 7 times. Eruch recalled that Baba had instructed the Mandali several times, whenever I may drop my body, bring it to Meherabad and place it in the tomb. He also remembered that Baba had told him to play the record of the song when he dropped his body. Eruch had the foresight to tell Mani to get her movie camera and film the entombment. Just before the lid was brought inside and placed over Baba, Eruch went down in the crypt and placed a very fine scarf given by Mera over Baba's face. Eruch survived Meher Baba by 32 years. He continued to live at Meherazad, and he worked for the Avatar Meher Baba Trust in the trust office in Ahmednagar until 2001. He continued to be an inspiration for followers of Meher Baba from the East and West until the end of his life. On August 31st, 2001, "Oh Baba," slipped from Eruch's lips. His beloved name was the last word Eruch spoke aloud. He died August 31st, 2001, and was buried in the men's cemetery at Meherabad. The men and women Mandali had this to say: beloved Avatar Meher Baba fulfilled his promise to Eruch, Jessawala, on 31st August 2001 at 2:31 a.m. when he gave Eruch his hand and pulled him out of the muck of illusion to live eternally in him. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Meher Baba called Eruch his Peter, and he said, if at all I enjoy the company of anyone, it is Eruch. Do you know how very important Eruch is for my work? By remaining by my side, he serves me 24 hours a day. He keeps watch by my side, reads my signs and gestures, looks after my smallest chores, and in addition, tackles correspondence. He was talking about Eruch, of course, when they were both alive. He looks after my smallest chores, and in addition, tackles correspondence. Nowadays, I ask Eruch for his free and frank opinion whenever I am in doubt about my dealings with others. He is a gem. Eruch was matchless. Jai Baba. So this was, and now I want to show you the slideshow, the beautiful slideshow that Ruthie created. Now it's been a couple of years ago for Eruch. So hang on a minute and I'll call it up. Let's see. There we go.
The man of God is drunk and without wine. The man of God is full without need. The man of God is rapturous and amazed. The man of God has neither food nor sleep. The man of God is the man of God is a king neath beggar's clothes. The man of God is a treasure in a ruin. The man of God is not of wind and earth. The man of God is not of fire and water. The man of God is the man of God is the man of God is a sea without a shore. The man of God rains pearls without clouds. The man of God has 100 moons and skies. The man of God has hundreds of sunshine. The man of God the man of God is
Beloved Baba, I remain beholden to you for everything that you have done for me. In spite of what I am and how I am, you have always overlooked my weaknesses and forgiven me my trespasses. You've never once chastised me, on the contrary, you have always showered your love upon me, and your graces upon me. I have no words to express my gratitude but to utter, oh Baba, oh Baba, oh Baba, I'm grateful to you for everything. I remain grateful to you ever and ever. Oh Baba, I beseech you, implore you, and beg of you. Never, never, ever let me down, Baba, never, ever let me down. Never, ever reject me, but accept me as I am and how I am. Oh Baba, guard me and guide me and help me. Hold my hand and lead me on till the very end. Fill me with your love from top to bottom, from side to side, inside and outside, so that your love pervades and permeates me, engulfs and envelops me, and all that is your love and not I. I remain resigned to your will, and let thy will be done always.
Okay, Baba, there's just a bit more of this, but I was really intrigued with this poem it's on his wall, and so I scrutinized it. Let me see, I think and I'll read to you what, let's see. Now I think I'll go back and show you. Sorry. Here we go. Yeah. All right. This little poem here. It's a Rumi poem, and it says, since he is the dispenser of portions. Here. Oh, sorry. I think maybe I can make it a little bigger. No. Since he is the dispenser of portions, complaint is an act of infidelity. Patience is needful. Patience is the key to the gift. All except God are enemies. He alone is the friend. How is it good to complain of a friend to an enemy? So long as he gives me buttermilk, I will not desire honey, for every pleasure is, let's see if I can, for every pleasure has a pain joined with it. And that's Rumi. And that's the end of the, yeah. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay. So we are now at the place in our program where we'd love to hear your stories. If you have stories of times with Eruch. I know what comes to mind is probably most special to me. It was my first visit, and I guess it is his practice to spend just a little time with, to get to know people, just to get, and so he called me into that wonderful little cabin, which was Baba's Mananash cabin on the hill. I think I have that right. And I remember just sitting on that bed, and it was like I don't remember what he said, but it was like, okay, now, so who are you? Yeah, just spent a little time getting to know me, and it was really very sweet and very precious. And I remember he liked the fact that I could do sign language since my parents were deaf. He can't remember, I can't remember specifically, but he liked that. So that's my one memory of Eruch. Anybody else have a memory of a time with him? Don't be shy. Trying to think of any more. I know he would always sign his communication. He would say, yours brotherly. I mean, that word brotherly is so apt for him. He was so much everybody's brother and friend, which was wonderful. No memories.
Oh, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Yes, Kartik. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the museum stall behind me, so I was not sure if it's a good time to talk, but if I'm audible, I will continue.
Yeah.
So I think I don't have the good fortune of having met and spent time with Eruch to have a direct memory. But the more I read about him and the more stories that I've heard from people, the two things that stick out are his objectivity when asked questions by Baba, and the honesty with which he used to answer to Baba, which obviously pleased Baba very much. And then the way he responds to lovers, to their questions and doubts, and again, where it's all about Baba and he's so self-effacive about himself, right? It's always about putting Baba in the front and giving beautiful answers, especially from personal experience. So I think he's a gift. Mehra, money, Eruch, eons are going to be, I mean, pages and epics will be written about these people and their lives and what we can take away from these experiences. We are at the very early stage right now.
That's true. I'm remarking, I guess there are a fair number of people here who didn't meet him. I just made the assumption we were so lucky, us youngsters, to have met him in the 80s and 90s. Yeah.
Indeed, yeah.
He was. Oh, Cheryl. Go ahead. Hi.
Hi. Just the image. I have so many memories. And if I start to cry, it's because I love him so much. It's as if he's still here in some way. Just little things like one time well, I'll say this first and then I'll say what I was going to say. Remember, it stuck with me. He just was saying to all of us in Mondley Hall, whenever I go anywhere, I try to make it better than when I leave than when I came. And it was a time period when I anyway was picking, it was before all the major organization from the men in Colorado, the Baba Lover from Colorado, was cleaning, it's having a team of people clean up around the Samadhi during Amrititi. But I would always go and pick stuff up on trash on the ground. I do it on the beach here, but it stuck with me, and it has in such a way that if I ever say, oh, never mind, I don't feel like doing it right now, I think of Eruch, you know, to pick up a piece of trash. And he said, I always leave the place that I visited better than when I came. I mean, just phenomenal. These little tiny things, which aren't tiny, that he said. And the reason I wanted to speak up was because I saw him in the later years. And I first went in end of 78. And then the last time I was there was about 2 years before he passed. That I've been since, but when he was still in his alive. And just I would see him sometimes looking so tired. And no matter how many questions people ask and how it seems such an effort at times, and again, this is when he's, you know, quite a bit older, he would just keep himself going. He would never not talk about something that someone had asked and share all that he could. And that just still thinking it, you know, seeing this today and then hearing your question, that's what came up really strongly. Thank you.
So true. It came to my mind too, Cheryl, just how he would hold forth. It seemed every day, no matter what, no matter how, and he often did seem tired. He just would find a story, or, you know, it was just his job to represent Baba.
Yeah.
Regular.
Karthik, I want to say something that I've heard from other Baba people who hadn't heard or seen any of the Mandali. You know, I'm here near the Meher Spiritual Center in Myrtle Beach. So, you know, I get to see at times a lot of people from other places that haven't met the Mandali. And what's so fabulous about these photos and films, Karthik, is that you can really feel the essence of each one of the Mandali. That's what I've told other people who say, oh, you met Mani, or oh, you met Mera. I say, really look, and now I'll say it about Eruch, really look and absorb what you're seeing. And it's as if, for me, even though I met them personally, it's as if I'm with them exactly again. So these photos and films and things that people are editing and putting together are really extraordinary for all of us. So thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Cheryl. Marta, you've got a hand up.
Yes, I do. I have this beautiful prayer that Eruch gave us of the new life. I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not this. I am not that. I am nothing but a lie of that truth that is me. And unless the lie is dead, the truth cannot be. I'll read it again. I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not this. I am not that. I am nothing but a lie of that truth that is me. And unless the lie is dead, the truth cannot be. Jai Baba.
Yeah. Remarkable. Yeah.
Thank you, Marta.
Anyone else? I hope you all know how to raise hands. In my computer, down at the bottom, there's a whole line of buttons to click, and next to the reactions button is a button that says raise hand. Some of you will find raise hand if you click the reactions button. I've been reading a prayer by him also, Marta. I'm glad you brought that up. I have to see if I can find it now. Oh, that's a trick. It's these notes on my desk. It's a load. Well, while I look, is there anybody else who has anything? Oh, Meher, Kiran.
Yeah, so when I began to discover more of Baba, and I was always having some, attraction. What this Eruch gives us, and the YouTube, so many videos of Eruch are there. And I used to be in a different world. I used to, imagine what he's saying. And one day I just took some time because my father doesn't understand the video, like spoken English very well. I wrote down for him to understand what Eruch was saying. I will just read because I'm just revising those memories. Maybe I will just read what I wrote, what Eruch said in that video. Okay. It was short one. So this I wrote to my dad, 2016. Yeah, and I was writing, this was recorded during 74-75 by Stephen Hine in a 12-part videos. And this is the first video. And Eruch is answering some questions. And the first question was, what does Baba want of us? And Eruch says, according to what I have gathered from Baba, Baba wants everything from us. He says, Baba wants everything, mind, body, thoughts, even the central thought of self-realization has to become him. In order to make everything Baba, Baba said, we have to love him. So we start by making love to Baba. And somebody asked to Eruch then, how to love? And for which Eruch's reply, how to love you? For which Baba said, as you naturally love somebody. And he says, Baba also said, no one can love as deeply as he wishes to be loved. But still, he says, one has to make a beginning by trying to please him. 3 things please Baba. Think of things you will not be hesitant to think before Baba. Speak such words only. You will speak if Baba is present. And do things thinking Baba is present around you. Eruch says to create a presence of Baba always around you, you can start the same way like children start to learn alphabets. As children keep writing A, keep reminding yourself of Baba. By placing Baba's pictures around. These outward pictures of Baba will help you to actually do the 3 things. So, I don't know. I just wrote those points so loving in the initial days. Well, what Eruch does is he opens the doors, for me. He just starts with some very difficult question. And I will be, how to love Baba. And he will tell me, like, brother, this is how. So that's what I like about Eruch. It's so, he pre-calculated. He pre-calculated all the questions. He wrote them down and told them in a way. I, who never met him though, feel like he's like, what I say, hand held me in so many situations and showed me around.
Wow. What a nice way to put it. He held your hand and showed you around. That's great. Oh, that's wonderful. There, thank you.
Yeah.
Judy, I was hoping you would speak up here, dear.
Jai Baba, everyone. And yes, it's Eruch. His last words were, oh, Baba. And I'll later share a story about how Eruch would have reprimanded me for even starting with oh, Eruch, because for Eruch, the only important thing was Meher Baba. But let me start with filling in just a few details from the wonderful biography that you shared earlier that have touched my heart very much. And the first one is in 1938, in May of 38, when Eruch was called to Baba, and as Betty shared in the bio, he came back to his home, but Eruch got on the train from being with Baba and was immediately really afraid. It's like he just committed his entire family to become, to leave everything they owned and come to Baba. And he was really afraid, especially that his father would be really angry with him. So he kept thinking about that on the train all the way back. And when he got to their home in Nagpur, his mother, heard him arriving and came out. Eruch, what did Baba say? What did Baba say? And he said, Mother, it's been a long journey. And this was really out of his fear. Let me take a bath and have some food, and then we'll gather the family together and I'll tell you. And so Eruch did those things. And when he came in to the sitting room and everyone was gathered together, his mother, Gaimai, was at the edge of her seat still. It's like, what did he say? What did he say? And Eruch related in detail, as he always did. And whenever Eruch told stories, he always told the details. And he both personally said to me and a number of times publicly in Mandalay Hall, he would say, whenever you tell a story, give all the details. Make the listener feel as if they are there when it's happening. And so Eruch was sharing about being with Baba in the beautiful details that everyone was sort of on the edge of their seats to hear. And when he said that Baba had asked about, well, what about the family? And Eruch had said, by your grace, Baba, everything is possible. His mother, Gaimai, spontaneously blurted forth how blessed we are that the Lord himself, of his own volition, has called us to him. And as I think most of you know, Gaimai, Eruch's mother, will be the mother of the next avatar. Baba said that when he comes in 700 years, she would be his mother. And Eruch's reaction to hearing that was, no, Baba, please, no. The avatar's mother has so much suffering. And Baba shook his head, said, no, it's all said already. But this life as Gaimai, she was absolutely delighted that they were called to him. And Betty mentioned that, Baba had said to take this house that became known as Bindra House in Pune for 15 days, but she said that it turned into many years. The many years was almost 50 years. They waited to be called to Baba's side at Meherazad, but of course Baba passed in 1969, and I think it was the year 1990 that they finally were able to come. After Pindu had died and so forth, because I think and some of the work that Bao was doing and so forth, then there became room. And Eruch's whole family that was remaining, Gaimai, Manu, his younger sister, and his younger brother Merwan all moved to Meherazad and lived out their days there. One of the other things, well, I'll keep that for later. Let me tell you two tiny vignettes of my personal experience with Eruch, that to me shows so much of his incredible humility, where he never allowed anything to stick to him. He was like Teflon, it's like, anyway. So, gosh, what years are we in? So it would have been the 90s, the late 90s, and it's Baba's birthday. And I was wearing a sari, which I save to wear for Baba on his birthday. But since a nice sari doesn't look good with my straw hat, I had an umbrella that day. And it was also hot, it was almost March, and February 25th. And so I was coming out of being in Baba's Samadhi in the afternoon before the play started. And I started to walk toward what we used to call Mansari's kitchen of the ashram women in the 30s and 40s. And I started to enter the compound there, and I noticed that Eruch just stepped out of what was called the Pilgrim's Rest Room, where there was a cot, and I surmised Craig Ruff was with him as his attendant, and it was clear to me, okay, good, Eruch had just laid down for a while after getting up well before 5 that morning and so forth to rest. And there was a group of a half dozen pilgrims in the compound that as soon as they saw him were making a beeline. So I worked, among other things at that time, as part of the medical team. And so I saw, and I well knew Eruch's attitude toward putting any obstacle of interruption of any type between himself and a lover of God. Like, you just didn't do it. So it wasn't like I could say, come a few more steps under the tin shed and be out of the hot sun of midday on an old man's head. I'm thinking, like, let's keep Eruch from getting sunstroke. So that was my intention. But I knew that I couldn't do anything directly. So I came around behind him and quietly put my umbrella over his head to shade it. And Craig Ruff, who not at that time, but later served as a trustee of the Avatar Meher Baba Trust, and he whispered to me, "Good job, Judy," because we all wanted to protect Eruch, but we couldn't. Eruch turned around immediately from what he was saying to the pilgrims and said, "Put that down and don't ever do that to me again." He made it very clear that who do you see in the iconography? I'm looking at some of it. This camera can't see it, but it's like in the iconography of the previous avatars of the Buddha or of Lord Krishna or Rama. They're the ones with the umbrellas over the head. What did Eruch do in his life? He held an umbrella over Baba's head, and he would not allow that, even if it was for a practical medical purpose, because it might give some semblance like you were respecting him or he was important in some way, and he would not allow that. It's anyway, I see Marta's hand there, and I have countless stories on Eruch, and for any of us that were fortunate to meet him in person, and actually for any person that ever heard Mayor Baba's name, what rings in my heart is Guy Mize, how blessed we are, every one of us here today, how blessed we are that the Lord himself has called us of his own volition to us. Jai Baba.
Oh, thank you, Judy. Come back. Yeah, we'll call on you again. Marta.
Judy, I'm so glad you told that story. I was hoping you would tell that story. I think you have a couple of other humiliating to yourself stories of Eruch that I just thought, oh my God, poor Judy.
No, they were
so much Eruch, so much Eruch. It was beautiful. Thank you. I have this a little treasure from the Real Treasure, Volume 2 by Rustam. And it's a little story on page 33, Become His. And halfway through the story, it's a story about Rustam asking, what is the difference between divine will and free will? To Bauji and then Eruch. And I'll read you the part from Eruch. It's so beautiful. On another occasion, I happened to ask Eruch about a doubt which prompted a reply from him on this very subject of divine will and free will. There are many times in my day-to-day work at the trust, he said, where I was not sure what the correct action to take in a particular situation. I was not sure when faced with options as to which option would please Baba. So I raised my doubt with Eruch when he was at the trust office, and I asked him, how do you know? How can you be absolutely sure when faced with options whether the option we choose is right and will please Baba? Eruch replied, don't worry about right and wrong. Become his, and right and wrong will take care of itself.
Wow.
When you become his, then your acts no longer spring from your limited ego self, but rather they are prompted by the divine being. So why worry about right and wrong? Let your main worry be to remember him constantly and to become his. If you do that successfully, you no longer have to worry about anything. So don't create confusion in your mind by thinking about useless things. Rather think about Baba, for it will end all confusion. See that all your efforts are directed towards his remembrance, whether work or relax. Remember to do it for him. Remember to do it for him. All this will eventually help you to become his. And when that happens, everything else falls into place. It reminded me of the following quote of beloved Baba. If at all you must worry, let it be how to remember me constantly. This is the worthwhile worry, but it will bring about the end of all worries. Hey, Baba. Eruch's beautiful words of wisdom.
Oh, Marta, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other folks? Shall we go back to Judy?
Yeah, I have one. It's not something I'm reading, but something I heard from Eruch in Mondley Hall. And Eruch, I said, he was getting nearer to the end of the 1990s. Would sometimes ask somebody else to tell a story who had heard it before from him in Mondley Hall. So this man is telling a story, a Westerner, and he's getting the truth, the essence of the story correct, but he's misremembering a date or misremembering a place. So somebody in the hall objected, and Eruch interrupted that objection and said, that's the way he's telling the story.
Oh, beautiful, Cheryl. Thank you so much. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I'll pipe in if others aren't raising hands. And so this is an addendum, no criticism at all of how the bio went, but another detail that I heard Eruch speak of often. And it seems to me that even to the end of his life, he felt what I'm about to say. And so it's about the car, his father's car in 1938 that he drove. They were the only people in a huge area that had a car. They were so rare. But his father had a very important position as inspector of boilers for a big hunk of India, an important, very important government job. So they had a very nice car and a very wonderful estate that had, you know, besides a huge home, an aviary and a greenhouse. And that's where Eruch was working when the messenger came with a telegram from Baba saying, please come immediately to see me, and told him where and so forth. So at any rate, when Eruch left, he was in a hurry to go. So he left the keys with the station master. And fortunately, the car was fine. But when they showed up in August 1st, 1938, Baba had told Eruch that one of the requirements was that they bring the car. But his father, and Baba had specified that his father, I think he had about a year, one side or the other, to work. And then he would get his pension requirements or whatever. So Baba had set up front that your father can complete the job so he can get a pension before he retires. And so knowing that, Eruch thought that he'd have his father bring the car when he retired in a year or two. And because he needed it for his job, he had to travel all over to inspect these boilers. So they didn't bring the car, but they met every other rule that Baba had given for them. And when they showed up, Baba, his first and only question was, where's the car? And Eruch explained just what I'd said. Eruch and Baba looked at Eruch with such disappointment that bordered on disdain and said, you have put a stain on my heart.
Oh dear.
And Eruch really, in his last decades, still spoke of that with great pain quite often, not every week, but it was over the years. So that was one of the other details I wanted to offer.
Betty,
And
we missed that last sentence. Your computer we missed Baba's reaction because your computer dipped a little. Can you repeat it? Just
Baba said to Eruch, with great disappointment that seemed to border on disdain, "You have put a stain on my heart."
wow.
They sold, almost given away for almost nothing, this whole estate, because Baba, there was a very short time frame. They'd done everything else right, but that one, and Baba said, I would not have kept the car, but the order was for you to bring it, and then I would have sent it back for your father so he could use it as long as he needed. At any rate, it's even Eruch, it's getting it perfect for Baba. It's nigh on the impossible. And I'll have another short story of my experience with Eruch's humility. So somehow, Eruch often used the term, if it falls to your lot. So it's like if it's in your karma. So somehow, fortunately, it fell to my lot to be able to go to Meherazad early Sunday mornings along with Dr. Ann, and we accompanied Eruch, and in my years, Merwan Jessawala, his brother, on their early morning walk. We'd, head out at 5 a.m, and, it would be cold even on hot days at 5 a.m in a rickshaw getting out to Meherazad. But it was the highlight of my week, and I think also Ann's, to be with Eruch. And in that final year, in the year 2000, his health has deteriorated such. His entire life, he would go for early morning walks. Earlier years, it would be for miles and miles and miles. In the later years, it was down the approach road and maybe out to the reservoir, and so forth, but, much shorter than miles and miles. And it, I missed it. I missed him. And one day I went out, I had regular work with Bal Natu on various of his work, his books and so forth. Anyway, I came out early, I think on a non-pilgrim day, so a work day for me. And this was quite a rarity, that when I arrived, the only person on the veranda was Eruch to greet me. There, usually Devana or other people are floating around, but it was only him. And for any of you, I wish each of you, if you haven't had the incredible embrace. I did not meet Mayor Baba in person, so I'm sure his embrace was indescribable. Eruch's was the most loving one ever. Every time, to every person, big or little, important, unimportant, just love came through it, was my experience. So he's offering me this loving embrace of greeting. And since no one was around, I whispered at his ear, "Eruch, I miss you," meaning I miss being on the walks with you. And he pulled me out of that loving embrace and held me at shoulder length distance and said, "Don't miss me, miss the Lord."
Wow.
And that for me, yes, it was very startling and painful in the moment. It was such a gift to me of correction of what's important, who's important. And when Eruch died, it helped me so much because I'd all from that moment, I'm pointing at Baba on the reflection here that was behind me. It was really an invaluable teaching that Eruch gave me in that moment that didn't feel great at the time, but was so essential and spoke so loudly. That's what I mean of utter humility of, it's like, don't mistake me, for the Lord himself. So that to me really encapsulates the simplicity, the love, the Baba-ness of Eruch.
Wow.
Jai Baba.
How fortunate you were, Judy, to be that close to Eruch that he would, what's the word? He would be stern with you. Wow. Wow.
Yes, that was the difference between if the Mandali were there to train us, and Mani and everybody else, they took that very seriously of, hey, we're leaving and these are the people we're going to leave it to. It's like, we got to get them. Yeah, it's, I think, well, I don't know about everybody else, but yeah, I took it as a blessing, actually, that they took off the kid gloves.
Thank you so much, Judy. Okay, we've got a hand up from Rosalie. Gotta unmute, Rosalie.
My first memory of Mandalay Hall when I first came to India in 1976 was a very welcoming place. And I would certainly attribute that to having Eruch be there, because that whole brotherly thing, brotherly to women and men both. I'm actually very surprised that very few men have come to this meeting. And I think what Eruch gave them, because of course he was incredibly bright, but it was that for being so male, what I would call male, Eruch had that heart side very strong. And so, it was disarming. It would be a disarming thing if you were too much in your head. But at any rate, when I met him, how could you not love this person, And I also felt whenever Mero was available on the porch to see people, I would leave that wonderful accepting Mandalay Hall feeling, even on Sunday when it was extraordinary, because Mani would I called it a cosmic ping pong game. Her and Mani and Eruch would go back and forth, and it was like really to die for. It was just very special. But when Mara was there, I was just gone. There was never a wisp of anything like, how could you leave? Or, it was like they weren't even there. And I would say I have had this, whatever, call it karma, call it habit of being in my lifetime, and that I can sense groups, a group thing. And certainly, Mandalay Hall, there would be a group, when I think of Baba asking Eruch to take care of Mara and Mani, like to be responsible, and Eruch agreed to do that. I mean, what an incredible request. It's like beyond belief, that was requested, and Eruch said, yes, of course, Eruch to me was, well, I remember just different things that I've heard, and I believe because of having been around him, one of which someone said to Baba, you always pick on, maybe it was Bao, you're so hard on him, and they compared it to being with Eruch, and Baba, as I remember, says Eruch had self-knowledge. He, and Eruch admitted himself, he called himself a scoundrel. I knew I was a scoundrel. And I'm sure that was a word he used, because it's not a word in my daily life. And all Baba had to do was look at Eruch, and that was sufficient. He didn't have to say anything. He didn't have to give an order. It was just a look. So that was, speak of intimacy with the Lord, it's like, I had, I was happy that Cheryl brought up that about being with these people, Eruch or any one of these really great souls. And I think because of the humility, every single one of them had a certain humility of being with Baba and where the focus was to be. And that's so precious, because if in this lifetime we're going, Baba's taking us to, the mind, rational thinking, to intuition, it is so great a jump. It is so great a jump that it's like, like something beyond belief. We have no idea about this jump. It's happening when it will have happened. It's happening. And I won't say, I have to say this because it brings it up in my mind. Baba will manifest. He said he will. He never said it was going to be easy. So I always keep that in mind. Okay, he never said it was going to be easy. Okay, we'll see what happens. I know it will happen. That, but I remember it was Eruch's birthday, my first time, 1976, and people in Mandalay Hall, everyone loved him, I can't imagine someone not loving Eruch, but they said, someone says, well, what do you want for your birthday, Eruch? And he says, kind of paused a moment, and he says, I want to die. And if you want to kill a party, that was that was the birthday party. And it was very interesting because he did have a stroke after that. And he disappeared from the scene. He went to Bindra House to recover. And his mom and sisters took care of him. And I don't remember him because I was there from September and I left just before the new year. I don't remember him returning. It was a good deal of recuperation. So, it's destiny, but we're very fortunate that he went on and on to be there. Tired or no tired, it's like he was just serving Baba, and that was it. Personal things with Eruch, he was such a brother to everyone that, I don't think of him in terms of what did I have personally with Eruch, because, and he was so Baba's that and so humbly serving Baba in that Mandali hall. Just, he went on and on and on and on and on, I have to remember, I remember these funny facts. He was a full moon baby, born to Gaimai, tiny Gaimai. And if you saw his picture, that big chunky baby that you showed at the beginning, I really like to see it again, because I thought he was 11 pounds. Now, where I got that, he was quite heavy as a baby coming through the birth canal, and just his destiny. I felt I shared that with him. We both survived Catholic school. He went to Catholic school where he fell in love with Jesus, and he was not interested in Zoroaster because his mother would say, Meherabad's looking for you. He's Zoroaster. And he was quite a peacemaker. Eruch would say, well, I'm for Jesus. I'm not, but he would just hide. He'd come home from school late. He was playing hide and seek with Baba. I love that about him. And then the actual fact of Baba taking care of him when he fell and hurt his elbow, the Eruch to me was very physical in a most beautiful way. Because he had a beautiful manner that just came through his physical body. Just he was gentle, very strong. It's like I loved sitting in Mandali Hall and seeing how he would interact with different characters. It was a most beautiful and spectacular event to sit there and watch him engage with people. It was not, he was very bright and had all this knowledge, but it was beyond that. It was like, that compassion of Baba came through. I just, just compassionate learning or sharing of his knowledge. Yeah. I actually didn't know what I would say because he was just such a beautiful soul and such a part of my pilgrimage, just because Mandali Hall was such a part of my pilgrimage, to sit there with Baba lovers and to have crossed the ocean, kind of scared to death what's going to happen in India. I was scared. I packed a lot of toilet paper and a lot of vitamins, and and then to be met with such lovingness from Eruch and all the Mandali, just it's like the gift that goes on giving, because as as Adele Walken said to my mother, you're very fortunate to have Rosalie for a daughter. She has met the pure people of this world. So whether you met them in person or you're meeting them through film, it's eternity. Everything's happening at once anyway. So don't feel like you missed out. Maybe feel that you just want to be closer to Baba. That's longing. Yeah. Anyway, I've said enough.
I've got that photo, Rosalie. Let me just show everybody quickly here. Share. Oh, shoot. Wrong. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. No.
There it is.
Okay. Now we.
Yeah. Look at his cheeks. I mean, really. Ah!
That's a big baby.
That's a big baby, and he was big when he came. I didn't get that wrong, because I'm not into how much a baby, but they're like 6-7 pounds. Look at that.
He's big. Beautiful, Eruch. I also
Yeah.
I wanted to comment on what you said way back. You said when you were back, I think it was Eruch and Mani ping pong, and then when Mara came out, you said, "I'm gone," right? You always
Oh yeah. Oh, there was no contest to me. I didn't think of it then, but she's like the female side of God, and if I could sit by her, I don't even have to say anything. And increasingly, as this lifetime goes on, like Baba saying in the accident at Prague, that he was so happy that she shared half the accident. None of the Mandali, he never said that to Mandali, and that she had to remain with us, thank God, for 20 years without having his, it's beautiful for her, this precious presence, that she could be with him every day, because when he was young and going across the world, imagine how the longing was for Mara. She didn't have that much time with him. And yet she had time, and she just valued it. It was like, that's all she wanted, Yeah. But speak of.
Go ahead. Sorry. When I was listening to Eruch and Mara came out, I always had a very hard time. I knew I should be with Mara, but it was so hard to leave Eruch for the story. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, I won't say it was easy, but it was no contest, just because and also I was very sensitive to the feeling in Monteley Hall. Mrs. Mara's on the porch. Someone would announce, and then I would just quietly get up and go. But there was no glimmer of, but look what's going on here. It was like, whoosh. And I have to say, there was such a feeling. I'm sure when Mara left her physical body, it was a really sad time. This is kind of like losing Baba twice, it just, and I think even Mani, who was supreme expert at looking cheerful, no matter what. I didn't see her at that time after Mara left, but I don't even think she could pull it off. Well, anyway, we're Baba said the power of films. It is the most powerful media, and we have him on film. You don't have to have a painting of Baba or a sketching of maybe what he looked like. And you know, you just get it from this probably funky cameras at times, brownie camera that Money had, and there's no middleman. You know, this is how he looked. That's how he looked. Not the way he really looks, like his godness, but even Mani said he had trouble hiding his godness.
Mhm.
It would shine through, you know, but that was Mani, you know.
I've been reading this poem out loud for a couple of days now, but I thought it'd be a good way to end up the meeting. You can always raise your hand if something comes to mind, but I'll go ahead and read this prayer. This is from Eruch. It's beholden to you. I remain beholden to you for everything you have done for me, in spite of what I am, in spite of, and how I am. You have overlooked my weaknesses and forgiven me my trespasses. You have always showered your grace upon me and your love. I have no words to express my gratitude, but to utter, "Oh Baba, oh Baba, oh Baba." I beseech you, I implore you, I beg of you to never let me down. Baba, never let me down. Guard me, guide and help me. Hold my hand until the very end. Fill me with your love from top to bottom, from side to side, inside and outside. And let me know there is only you. And let me know, and let me know there is only you. That's so Eruch.
Betty, will you show the pictures after we finish? I'd like to see them again because you know.
You mean this whole? You mean the slideshow?
Yeah.
After, yeah. Yeah, I think I'll stop sharing, and technically we'll have the meeting over. Let's just at least say Avatar, and then Rosalie, I'll do that. I'll yeah, after. Maybe we could say together, Avatar, Meherabad ki jai.
Meherabad ki jai.
Avatar, Meherabad ki jai. Avatar,
Meherabad ki jai.
Avatar, Meherabad
ki jai.
Yay. Oh, thank you, Eruch. All right, I'll stop record. Thank you, Baba. He wouldn't. Oh my goodness. Hope you didn't hear that. Thank you, Baba.